Johnson's speech pattern, and which was familiar to my ear at this time from hearing it and so forth.
For decades, Jack Nicholson was Hollywood's untouchable rebel, the grin, the madness, the genius who rewrote what leading men were allowed to be. But when the camera stopped rolling, Nicholson carried something far less glamorous, grudges that never healed. At the height of his career, and even long after stepping away from the screen, there were people he never forgave, not because of gossip, but because they violated his personal code of acting, respect, and truth. According to Nicholson himself, 6 names crossed the line, and some were heroes, some were collaborators. All of them left scars. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe if you want more unfiltered, documentary-style stories from Hollywood's inner circles, the ones that never make it into official biographies. Marlon Brando, From Hero to Disillusionment. For Jack Nicholson, Marlon Brando wasn't just another Hollywood legend. He was the model of everything acting could be. The man who broke every rule, redefined cinema, and made Nicholson believe that rebellion could transform into pure art. But that all didn't last forever. It shattered in 1976 on the chaotic set of The Missouri Breaks. Nicholson showed up ready and focused, his heart pounding with excitement to finally work beside his idol as an equal. Yet what greeted him wasn't the disciplined master he once admired. It was someone who seemed to have lost all interest in the craft itself. Brando wouldn't even memorize his lines. Instead, he had cue cards taped to furniture, to props, even to members of the crew, forcing everyone to work around his whims. Each scene turned into a guessing game as Brando switched voices, tossed on random costumes, and twisted every take into something unpredictable. It wasn't genius anymore, it was chaos. For Nicholson, that wasn't artistic freedom, it was destruction. He later said that brilliance doesn't excuse carelessness, and that watching Brando toy with the work for his own amusement felt like a deep betrayal. The movie bombed, but the real damage wasn't to the box office, it was to Nicholson's soul. He never acted with Brando again. Though he kept a quiet respect for Brando's early masterpieces, the man himself had destroyed something sacred, the belief that his hero's rebellion came from passion, not arrogance. Shelley Duvall, a partner he couldn't reach. During the making of The Shining in 1980, Jack Nicholson knew what he was stepping into with Stanley Kubrick. The man was famous for his perfectionism and relentless control, but what Nicholson didn't see coming was the deep isolation that crept in while performing opposite Shelley Duvall. Kubrick's obsession with endless retakes drained everyone, but for Duvall, it became almost unbearable. Her emotions were fragile, unpredictable, and that made it nearly impossible for Nicholson to find the rhythm he depended on as an actor. He later explained that acting wasn't just about saying lines, it was about a shared pulse, a connection that keeps the energy alive. Yet with Duvall, that pulse kept breaking apart. There were moments when she gave performances so raw they stopped everyone cold, but then, in the next breath, she seemed emotionally crushed, trembling and lost, unable to recover before Kubrick pushed action again. Nicholson confessed that scenes meant to be partnerships turned into endurance tests, forcing him to carry the emotional burden alone. Years later, he looked back with a mix of guilt and understanding. He admitted that Kubrick's methods were harsh, even cruel, and that Duvall had suffered deeply under that pressure. Time softened his judgment, but it didn't erase the memory. The film became one of the most haunting masterpieces in movie history, yet behind those chilling performances, the connection between its stars had already fractured beyond repair. Tom Cruise, technically perfect, emotionally empty. Yet, when A Few Good Men hit theaters in 1992, audiences saw explosive chemistry, the kind that makes screens crackle. But behind the scenes, Jack Nicholson felt something entirely different. A deep clash of artistic belief. Tom Cruise walked onto the set like a machine built for precision. Every gesture, every glance, every line was mapped out and rehearsed to perfection. It was impressive, yes, but for Nicholson, a man who thrived on risk, tension, and raw instinct, it felt lifeless. There was no spark, no chaos, no sense that something unexpected might happen in the moment. Nicholson later explained that Cruise's acting was technically flawless, but emotionally sealed off. Even during their legendary courtroom showdown, one of cinema's most quoted scenes, Nicholson said he threw everything he had into his performance, trying to crack through Cruise's composure. But what came back wasn't energy or discovery, it was pure discipline, a wall of control that never wavered. He admired Cruise's professionalism, no doubt about that, but in Nicholson's eyes, the heart of acting had shifted. It was no longer about living truthfully in chaos, but about executing perfection. And that change for Nicholson made any thought of working together again feel pointless. Fade Dune away, the project that broke his directing career. The Two Jakes was supposed to be Jack Nicholson's crowning achievement, his grand return to the world of Chinatown, this time not only starring but also sitting in the director's chair. It was meant to be proof that he could shape a masterpiece, both in front of and behind the camera, but instead it turned into one of the most painful experiences of his entire career. From day one, tension filled the set. Faye Dunaway, his co-star, and once a symbol of cinematic brilliance, pushed back on nearly everything. She questioned lines, ignored call times, and constantly challenged Nicholson's authority. Every scene became a battle of wills, not creativity. Nicholson, already exhausted by the weight of directing and leading, found himself trapped in an emotional tug of war that drained the joy right out of the project. What cut the deepest wasn't the arguments, it was the collapse of trust. Nicholson later confessed that what was meant to be a collaboration turned into something that felt like sabotage. The tension bled into every frame, and when the film finally stumbled out into the world, it carried the scars of that conflict. Its failure wasn't just professional, it broke something inside him. After The Two Jakes, Nicholson quietly stepped away from directing forever, his passion for that side of filmmaking gone for good. Sean Penn, control over instinct. When Jack Nicholson signed on for The Pledge in 2001, he expected a creative partnership, a chance to explore dark emotion under Sean Penn's direction. But almost immediately he felt trapped. Penn ran his set like a commander. Every pause, every glance, every flicker of emotion was planned and dictated. There was no space for instinct, no air for improvisation, no pulse of discovery. For Nicholson, whose entire career thrived on freedom and danger, it was like being caged. He later admitted that he asked himself one haunting question: why bring me here if you don't want me to breathe? That line summed up his frustration perfectly. The film earned critical praise and was admired for its somber intensity, but behind the applause, Nicholson felt hollow. The thrill that once defined his craft had been drained away by control and calculation. When the cameras stopped rolling, so did his desire to collaborate with Penn again. The spark of danger he lived for had vanished, replaced by precision that felt like suffocation. Leonardo DiCaprio, talent without risk. When The Departed hit screens in 2006, audiences couldn't look away from the magnetic clash between Jack Nicholson and Leonardo DiCaprio. Every shared scene felt like lightning striking twice, raw, unpredictable, and thrilling. But behind the camera, Nicholson saw something deeper unfolding, a clear divide between two generations of actors. DiCaprio came to set with every detail mapped out, his posture, his tone, even the emotional rhythm of each scene. It was all calculated precision, and it worked beautifully on screen. Yet for Nicholson, that approach felt confining. He had built his entire legacy on spontaneity, on letting the moment lead him anywhere it wanted to go. Watching DiCaprio plan everything in advance made him restless. In one shocking and now legendary moment, Nicholson decided to test the boundaries. During an intense confrontation, he unexpectedly pulled out a real gun, not as a stunt or for attention, but to jolt DiCaprio into genuine fear, into something raw and alive. For Nicholson, that was the essence of acting: danger, unpredictability, truth in chaos. But for DiCaprio, it crossed a line of trust. Though Nicholson respected DiCaprio's incredible focus and talent, he couldn't feel a real connection to his process. He later said DiCaprio was brilliant but too safe, unwilling to step off the edge where art turns wild. 6 people, 6 broken collaborations, and 1 uncompromising code. Jack Nicholson never pretended to be easy, but when respect disappeared, when truth was replaced by ego or control, he walked away and never looked back. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these clashes surprised you the most? Like, subscribe, share, and comment, and we'll see you on the next one.